Hi, morning everyone. This is Jessica from Bespoke Veterinary Services. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. This is Fisher.
This is Fisher, who I may steal and take home with me. He's just so unbelievably cute. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So as everyone knows, I'm Melissa from the Parent Collective, and today we're going to talk about how to prep your life with your pets for your newborn and preparing for your newborn. And I know this is such a subject. We've had so many questions and so many people writing and saying that they've had to get rid of pets because things just didn't work out and that they didn't prep properly. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll launch straight into the first question, if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
So what is the best way to prep a dog for life with a newborn before the newborn arrives?
Well, there are a lot of different things that you can do. The first thing is you're going to be getting a nursery together, a crib, changing table. So a good thing to do is if you do want your dog to be in the nursery when the baby's born, to allow your dog to get acclimated with the furniture. If you don't want your dog in the nursery after the baby's born, then I would gate the area off and sort of allow your dog to know that that's not an area that they're allowed to be in.
That's a good idea.
And then for cats, if you don't want them in the nursery, and there can be safety issues with the cat going into the crib, so there are different things you can do to keep them out of the nursery or even out of the crib with tapes or different, you can get pads you put underneath the crib that will buzz to prevent them from jumping into the crib. There are different things that can be done. So just get them acclimated to the new furniture and the changes in the environment, noise. Dogs, you can get a CD, which basically has the sounds of infants crying, so that gets them acclimated. And then I think the biggest thing is have a safe haven for your dog.
Yeah.
Like a pen or a crate or an area that they can go to.
Needs to be quiet.
Needs to be quiet. It needs to be their safe place.
Okay.
Somewhere where they feel comfortable. And I would start that well before the baby comes, because you're going to have a lot of visitors. It might be very intimidating for the dog with the baby and the different sleep schedule. So just a place they can go where they're comfortable and make it a positive place. You give them treats when they go there.
Would you keep it on the same floor where kind of the activity is happening, like maybe in the kitchen?
It depends upon the dog. It's wherever you think they're more comfortable. I mean, if your dog usually sleeps in your bedroom, and you know that you're going to have the baby in a bassinet in your bedroom, maybe put a crate next to your bed, and you can leave the door open. It doesn't have to be you're pushing them aside. Just it's got to be a place where they can go
where they feel safe. Yeah, that makes sense. That's fantastic. So what is the best way, I know we've just mentioned this, to prep a cat for life? Now, can you even do that?
You can.
Can you prep a cat before the newborn arrives?
You can.
I'm a cat person, so for this, for me, is like...
Well, we just talked a minute ago about keeping them out of the crib, so I would definitely, try and keep them out of the crib as far as tape or the shock pads. The other thing too is that cats are really funny with their litter boxes, so just make sure they have plenty of access to enough litter boxes in the house, and you just keep it as calm as possible for them, because when cats do get stressed, they can go outside the litter box, and the last thing you need is a cat that's urinating outside the litter box when you bring home the baby. So
you clean out the baby poo,
exactly.
You clean out the cat.
You don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. Oh my god, he's adorable. Okay, so you talk about keeping the cat off the crib. Did you say shock pads?
Well, so there are pads you can put underneath the crib, and then you put a collar essentially on the cat, and they just get a little buzz when they walk on it.
So it's a bit
really
like when you've got the what's it called that you do for dogs outside? Is it quite a similar idea?
It is similar. Yeah, to get a little bit of a buzz to know, hey, not supposed to go there.
Right. Yes. Okay, that's a great idea. And tell us about tape. What do you mean by tape?
It's a sticky tape that they don't like the feeling of. I've
so
never
that's a great
personally used it, but
isn't
there
it?
are alternatives you can use. Yeah. I don't know if it's ideal to have the sticky tape on the furniture, but you don't want your cat in going into the crib. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Should we keep the dog out of the nursery? In your opinion, what do you think?
I think it's completely up to you. It depends upon your relationship with the dog. It depends upon the temperament of the dog. I would definitely say bring your dog to the veterinarian before the baby comes home, just to make sure they're healthy, they're free of any kind of infectious disease.
Yeah.
Anything infectious to you or
See, I love the idea of having a dog, not that's protective of my children, but I love the idea of I mean, because eventually we will get one. Love the idea of my dog sleeping in my children's bedroom.
I love it.
I know. I feel that there's a bond. Do you know what I mean? That kind of bond is so special.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter thinks that our 13-year-old Cavalier, not this one,
Yeah.
is her big brother. I have pictures of him sleeping right out, basically at the base of her crib when she was a newborn. So I love it too. It just depends upon the dog and the temperament of the dog.
Yeah. I've got to say, Jessica's house. Jessica, we were going to get the rabbits, the fish. I mean, we were going to go for like a full-on zoo.
Noah's Ark.
Okay, so should we and how do we introduce the baby's scent? Because I know a lot of people talk about this. They rub their t-shirts, they rub blankets. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So what I did and what I tell a lot of my clients to do is they give you the baby blankets that they swaddle the baby in at the hospital. What I would do is have somebody like your husband or your mother or whoever's watching the dog bring the blanket home, which has the baby scent on it and your scent too, prior to bringing the baby home, just so they smell and they know. They're very aware when you're pregnant. They see your body go through the changes. And I know this sounds crazy, but you can talk to your dog about what's to come because I do believe they understand.
It's the calming nature of your voice as well, isn't it? And I suppose just maybe, like you said, it sounds a bit crazy, but maybe just letting them sit on your tummy and do you think they can hear the noise that goes inside?
Dogs can hear and smell way better than we can. Some dogs don't have the greatest hearing, like my 13-year-old Cavalier, but they can smell and they do understand. I mean, my dog Quincy, who's sitting on the floor right here, you can see him. He knew when I was going into labor. He sat right by me, right before it all happened. So they know. Yeah.
Do you think that you need to, before you leave for the hospital, give your animal extra love and attention or anything like that? Or do you think we're going a little bit over the top there?
I think that you should just act the way that you always do with them.
Okay.
But it is a little bit like if you have one child. And
that's what I'm about.
It's almost like a
sibling, isn't it?
It is like a sibling. So there is jealousy, but I always tell people it's hard when you have a new baby, especially a first child, because babies take up a lot of time and you're usually really overwhelmed with your first baby. So just do the best you can to not change their lifestyle. So if they were sleeping in bed with you before, let them continue to sleep in bed with you.
Yes.
And if you don't want them sleeping in bed with you once the baby comes, then definitely get them out of your bed long before the baby comes. Don't make any changes right when the baby comes, because that's going to be too stressful for everybody involved.
Yeah. And going back to the thing with the scent, where do you put it? What do you do with it? So
let's give it to them. Put it on their dog bed and let them smell it.
So you put it in their bed? Okay.
Yeah, and they'll go to it. They'll smell it. They know. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
did I wake you up?
Oh, sweet. Oh my God, so cute. Okay. And how should you? I love this question actually, because this is something that I think every parent is probably that initial moment where you actually introduce your pet to your baby.
I remember that moment.
That's nerve-wracking.
Really, really important moment. So what you should do...
I just want to say, he's actually fallen asleep.
What you should do is you will most likely have the baby in a carrier. And so if you're coming in with your husband or somebody else, have them carry the baby in, okay, and just sort of walk to the nursery, greet the dog, and then whoever the primary, caretaker of the dog is, so if it's you, or they should really go to the dog, give the dog lots of attention, kneel down, give them a treat, I love you, kind of greet them in a very calm way, and then facilitate the introduction of the baby to the dog. This is blah, blah, blah. I just let them sniff the baby. I let Quincy sniff my daughter's feet. It was really super cute. I have a picture of us right by the door with Leia, my 4-year-old now, in her carrier, and Quincy just sort of looking in on her. And just make it calm and make it positive. Give them treats. And it can be a wonderful thing. It really can be.
So you don't necessarily have to let the dog go in the baby's face. No. Like you said, you can allow them around the feet area or maybe the hands.
Yeah, maybe not the hands. Let them sniff the feet. The feet is fine. And if we go into that,
then you're wiping with antibiotic wipes.
But there are studies that are out there now showing that babies and children that are raised in homes with dogs have a more healthy bacteria in their gut, and as a result, they have decreased chances of getting asthma. So overall, I think have healthier immune system. So don't be so paranoid about them sniffing the hands and whatnot. But
There's almost like
a good place to
it's almost
start.
like they say children
Yeah.
that are brought up on a farm are the healthiest kids around. Type
Exactly.
of thing.
Same
Sorry
thing.
about the background noise.
Yes, sorry.
Jessica's having a bunk bed built.
For my daughter.
This is the life of a mum.
Yes.
Okay,
That's right.
I think we've got a couple more questions left. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so, and I think you may have touched on this really quickly, but I think we'll just go back to it again. Should I bring my pet to the vet prior to the baby's arrival to make sure that they're healthy?
I absolutely would. Make sure they're free of any parasites like fleas.
Yes.
Make sure, and ticks, and because we're talking on this, I would only be using an oral flea tick preventative in home when you have young children.
Yes, of
Orals,
course. You mean
yes.
so not on the back
I
of the
would
neck?
not. I do not recommend topicals with newborns, with toddlers because they can pet them. Just
Yes.
I would go all oral. Make sure they are on a preventative because you don't want them to be bringing fleas into your home. Ticks, you want to decrease the likelihood of them bringing ticks into your home.
Okay.
And then just make sure they're free of any kind of GI infections. Do a stool sample. Make sure they don't have any parasites like Giardia.
Yeah.
But yes, I would bring them to the vet and just give them a clean bill of health.
Clean bit. That's such a good. That's a great piece of advice. And then I think the last question that we had was, since I'll be occupied with the baby, how can I make sure to keep my pet's schedule and level of attention unaltered? I like this question because I think they're almost like your first baby, which is what we were just talking about with you and Quincy, is that they really are your first love apart from your partner. And I think that you really want to be sure that you do provide that love to them even when the baby comes. I think that's difficult. You feel so tired and so torn.
It's
And
hard. I think it depends upon a lot on the temperament of the dog. But I would, if you have a dog that likes to go out on 3 walks a day, I would line up a dog walker in advance.
Yeah.
If you have a dog that likes to sleep all day long, like my Quincy did and still does, then it's not really too life-changing. So it just depends upon your dog, but do everything you can to not change their schedule.
Yeah.
If they have to go out for a walk at 6 a.m. and you've just nursed the baby at 5 a.m., then make sure you have your husband lined up or you have somebody lined up to walk them at that time.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny because as I'm listening to you, it reminds me so much of having a sibling.
It is
It's
the
like
same
you should
thing.
do. It is.
Yeah.
So Jessica, before we go, tell us a little bit about your service, because I love the idea. I've got so many friends that have got animals, and I love the idea of having a veterinary service that is more bespoke to your needs as a family. So tell us a little bit more about what you do.
So I am a veterinarian. I do a customized in-home service. So I come into your house and I pretty much do everything. I take care of dogs and cats, from vaccines to wellness visits to sick visits. I can draw blood samples, do blood work. Short of surgery, which requires anesthesia, I can do everything in their home. And if anesthesia is required, then I will transport them, so you don't have to do that, to a hospital I'm affiliated with, and then bring them home to you, which mothers love, busy mothers love, because the last thing you have time to do is drive your dog to have a dental procedure, pick it up later in the day. So I sort of do it all for you, and then you have access to me. You can text me, you can call me if you're part of my service, and people tend to like that too, because dogs really are, and cats. Your children, so it's nice to have access to a doctor when needed.
So I will give you a prime example. I just recently looked after my friend Astrid's dog. I love you, Astrid. And her dog Hank, who is absolutely gorgeous, but he must weigh 80 pounds. So of course he comes in from my garden and he's got half a chicken bone in his mouth. Now I'm looking after him for 5 days, and I was like, oh, no, this cannot be happening. So I texted her and said, I don't know for definite if he ate this, but he could have done. What should I do? I had to try and lift him into my Jeep, which is a Land Rover LR4, which is like this far off the ground. I had to get a 7-year-old to help me, like pick up his bum, and pushing. The two of us were like struggling to get him in, and then I had to get him out again. And I was like, oh God, this is tough.
It's a lot,
this dog is heavy, so that's exactly where I could have used your services, Jessica.
You could have called.
So how do people get in touch with you if they like the sound of what you've just said?
You can call me, you can email me. All my information is on my website, which is bespokevetservice.com. And that's it, really.
Right.
Yeah, reach me, and I have a technician who also does dog walking, pet sitting. She travels with me to appointments.
Oh, really?
So we try to make it a full service.
That is fantastic. Yeah. So here you go, everyone. Jessica from Bespoke Veterinary Services. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. I'm just going to run and switch off the camera now.
Say bye, Fish. She's sleeping.
She's sleeping.